Amuka Africa, Amuka. Amuka is a wake-up call. Africa, arise. Africa, awake. Amuka Africa, Amuka. Maibuye Africa. Maibuye Africa. Chogwe. Chogwe. Amandla. Comrades, good morning. On behalf of 18 million working men and women of Africa across the 55 African countries of the African Union, I bring you solidarity greetings. Having listened to Dr. Olomo, we are not angry, but there's always an opportunity to see it as a moment of further reacting. Comrades, number one, with the history of Africa that we all know very well, as at today, that has formed clearly for us a structurally colonized continent as it remains. Comrades, when we talk about it, we are not lamenting. Comrades, the reality is that the situation we see today, we indeed has to be structurally decolonized. And then what we think AFCOD 5 is doing today in terms of gathering us is to further that opportunity. Unlike the previous AFCOD, workers of the world, workers of Africa, so to say specifically, have not been really active until recently. We have done so deliberately to say if this continent has to change, if the trajectory has to move forward, like I said, without lamenting and without apology, African workers must be at the forefront in the push of it. We do so because Karl Marx still remains very correct. It is workers that will lead the process of the breaking the chain for which we are held down by our oppressors. And so as it is for our continent, our history tells us very well that African workers were at the heart of our decolonization struggle. And then we know very well that our decolonization struggle is still work in progress. The liberation struggle is still work in progress. You can see it very well in South Africa. The anti-apartheid struggle is still work in progress. Therefore, brothers and sisters, comrades of Mother Africa, the onus is on us to continue this fight and fight like hell. I tell you, comrades, when you fight, the chance of winning is big. If you don't fight, you surrender, you have lost. So, as we discuss today, my charge to you, brothers and sisters, is that we should continue to have that fire to fight burning in our stomach. I love the way the sister, the chair of Aphrodite puts it, that when you are in Accra, you have a sense of some kind of mystic feeling in the air, that you are in the cradle, I like to call it the wrong way for Pan-Africanism, that there is something that is about to happen. Osiagbefo Kwame Nkrumah remains correct, and this is where I agree with my immediate speaker. Not necessarily that until we have democracy that is working, not necessarily that until we have peace, because comrades, the forces that are holding this continent down will never let you have peace until you grab it by force. Osiagbefo made us to understand that this continent needs to unite. Comrades, and this is why we are interested in the African Union. The African Union of today that doesn't speak to unity, but it's an African Union of geography should change. It should be an African Union of value and of principle. And nobody else can make that come to be except through us, citizens of this continent, who must demand that the accountability aspect of it works for us. Finally, brothers and sisters, When we met the president of Ghana in Lomé during the African Union Debt Summit, as a champion for finance, like my previous speaker said, he gave a very passionate speech about what we must do. And he listed the demands of what Africa must pursue. And in very clear terms, he made it clear the rules must change. The borrowings arrangement must change. That this debt, especially odious debt, something must be done about it. And it didn't mince words. They should and must be cancelled. And we thought that all of this resonated very strongly with us, including, finally, the point that President Lula Inacio da Silva made on behalf of Africa and other less developed and poor countries during the last hunger, the United Nations General Assembly, that it is unacceptable if Germany can borrow 8 times less than an African country can borrow. If the United States can borrow 4 times less than an African can borrow, all because Africa has been reduced to risky markets. And so Africa will have to pay more on the borrowing. After that, debt borrowing is not negative. We are encouraging more borrowing. What do I mean? We must borrow to develop, but responsible borrowing. And this is why we are interested in Aphrodite's Africa Borrowing Charter. This is our first charge to this conference. Can we all agree as African non-state actors to review this charter, popularize this charter, and use this charter to drive engagement with our government so that the responsible nature of borrowing will come back? Finally, comrades, on the 29th of August, this is a Friday, here in Accra, Ghana, we'll be having a Pan-African rally where we are calling on our creditors. We have invited all of them, and we have invited our governments who are also borrowers, lenders, those that have also borrowed. And a number of them have responded to us positively. We have invited them to say on the 29th, we're having a rally where, as Africans, we are calling for the debt cancellation. We do not owe, we will not pay. We do not owe, we will not pay. Thank you and good morning.